Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette Kuntze. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your paths to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello and welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette and I'm your host. Today my guest is Tracy Poissner. She is a concierge performance coach and botanical alchemist, creating designer blends of quantum medicinal that fast-track the achievement of legacy milestones and unlock the next level of manifestation for people who are determined to get the most out of life. So welcome to my show, Tracy.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure.
So what are you doing as an alchemist? I never heard about that, but I'm sure other people also haven't heard about that. Share a little bit about your story. Who are you and what are you doing as an alchemist?
Yeah, I hardly even know where to begin, but I'll start with alchemy since you started it there. So alchemy, you may know, is a very, very ancient tradition coming from the Far East, from the Middle East, from Africa. All of those places had alchemy even before it came to Europe. But alchemy is the practice of, essentially in the old times, it was finding a way to turn base metals into gold. And the goal of it was not to create some kind of massive personal wealth. The goal of it was a very spiritual one, of purifying some substance that was thought to be not so valuable, and in the process coming closer to God, really, I think was the idea, right? To find a way of ultimately purifying the human spirit in order to approach God. That was the idea. And the context that I'm using that word in is that it's a way of purifying inside of ourselves the unwanted patterns. It's not necessarily, getting rid of toxicity, which is also something that we can do, but it's not so much a healing paradigm when I talk about alchemy, because I've been a homeopath for 25 years. So I've been deeply involved in the world of healing, which I love and which continues to be important. But my particular journey lies in taking people to the next level of their evolution, which is past the healing phase, when you've already put in some spiritual work and you've dealt with your demons or your childhood or whatever it might be, and you see a path in front of you about expansion and about the frontiers of your potential and about pushing forward what's possible. So when we speak about alchemy, we're really looking at shifting those parts of us that hold us back into our human belief pattern about what we could do and what's possible, and being able to expand into essentially an unlimited space, right? So I also have a podcast starting in the next couple of weeks, which is called Limitless. And that's my love child. I mean, that's the project that I love to talk about, is not even overcoming limitations, but just having a new kind of vision that is limitless, and how much farther that can take us. So let's say my contribution to that world is to have developed a system of botanicals, which have already existed for some time. I use a system called Bachflower essences, which many people are familiar with. So this was developed about 90 years ago in England by Edward Bach. So no thanks to me. They work very, very well. They've been used all over the planet now for many decades. But I have found a way to use them which combines the archetypes of consciousness. So I have understood the patterns from each of these flowers and how they relate to the archetypal patterns that are within each of us, so that we can now use these actual products that you take into your mouth or apply externally if you want, that do the work on our body system to shift our consciousness on a very physical level. And for many people, this is a missing piece, that the mindset work and journaling and meditation and coaching and all of those things that we do to move ourselves forward, it leaves us behind, it leaves the physical body behind in some way that inevitably restricts our ability to really expand as far as we can, because we are still living inside a human body that has a nervous system that reacts to triggers on the outside, that is very much concerned with survival issues, right? So we need something to shift us on the physical level so that this new mindset or this new attitude can feel normal in your body. It can feel normal that you're seeking something else or producing something else. It can feel okay that you would receive that or that you have it. So yeah, this is a piece that, as far as I know, hasn't existed before, except, let's say, psychedelics or something that work in that world. Plant medicine, mushrooms, ayahuasca, people go for those kind of experiences in order to have this an experience of elevated perspective. And now we can achieve this with energy medicine that doesn't have the pitfalls or the let's say the difficulty of access of some of those other things.
So this works energetically and at the same time on the cellular level to remove kind of the memory that is stored there, because we have, of course, all our beliefs, our patterns for that we have from our childhood experiences and how we handled situations. So everybody has them more consciously or less, but definitely we have them. And so what I know is, of course, we start always with not doing this work about our childhood and not changing the stories and helping us with deleting blocking beliefs and reframing them, whatever we can do. But as you said, this is on the level of the mind and perhaps even on spiritual level, but it is not on body level.
Right. Yeah. So I like to think that when you talk about the cellular level, this is true, right? Certainly consciousness is something that resides in all the cells of our body. It's not something only happening from the neck up, it's not a function. It is a function of mind, of course it is, but mind and consciousness belong to every single cell of the body. One of the most impactful things that I've read in the last few years was in a book I was reading online about the production of red blood cells by the bones of the body. So first of all, I was shocked to discover that your bones, your bone marrow is producing a quantity of red blood cells that will blow your mind. 2 million new red blood cells every second. Every second. So, the scope and the pace of the speed of what's happening inside our body is really beyond our really, I mean, you can comprehend it, but you can't really wrap your head around it. You can say the words and say, yes, I understand this is happening, but really, 2 million cells a second, it goes beyond the production capacity of thoughts that you could have in the same amount of time. But the thing that impressed me even more than that was the idea that the author said, of course, these cells start out as stem cells, right? The bone marrow is producing stem cells. And the author said, once a cell commits to becoming a red blood cell and not some other kind of cell, Then this process goes in place, and they described the process of developing an erythrocyte from a stem cell. But I said, wait. Once the cell commits, it commits. Like, what does that mean? It's not a lottery. It's not a bingo machine that's just spitting them out in every direction, right? Like, there is some level of consciousness in the cell allowing it to make a kind of decision in line with the economy of the whole body as to what its mission is. And then it sets about to undergo whatever processes are required to turn it into that piece that you need. So this idea of the cells of your body having a capacity to commit to something really woke me up to the truth, the scientific truth that consciousness is at the cellular level. And when we talk about energy medicine, we're talking about really quantum medicine here, because the impact that energy medicine has is on the subatomic level of charge and spin and direction and whatever, right? We're talking about the subatomic particles of which we are made. And there is subatomic particles and empty space. That's all that there is here, finally. There's nothing besides that in your body. So yes, you are correct. All our memories are stored at the cellular level in some way that, we can't even imagine, having to do with shape and folding in the way that, proteins are all the same constituents, but they're folded in different patterns, and that's what gives them their different functions. So I believe that these medicines act to remove the emotional charge that is associated with a memory. So the memory can stay there, but if it's not activating an emotion, it's just there as a piece of information. It has significance, it has context, but it's not tied to a little charge that gives you a jolt every time the memory comes into your awareness. So that's how I would put it together with that idea of memories, that you don't even need to know, you don't even need to have a memory about the initial origin of a certain blockage or a belief pattern that you have. It's not necessary to know the origin of it in order to just unhook the emotion from that pattern, so that it's not driving you in unconscious ways anymore, because the thought of it activates a feeling in your body that is uncomfortable, and so you want to move away from that feeling quite naturally, as we're all animals.
Yeah, this is super interesting, because of course we have our experiences, and but these are just one part, because it depends how we interpretate our experience and what story we create around that.
Exactly.
And because of that, we will have, of course, our emotions, and with that it comes that our body will put out certain kind of hormones, and therefore then we get some whatever
Exactly.
kind of symptoms we will have. So
Exactly.
yeah, often we can see that these patterns are kind of alive in our body. Even sometimes people who always are in the feeling of anger, you can see that in the wrinkles they have in the face, and so, or in the way they move. But if you say it is not even necessary anymore just to understand what the source is, what was the first experience you had, and from where it went down, but saying, okay, we have whatever symptoms, whatever pattern are there, and there are emotions related to that, and of course biochemistry in our body, but we can interrupt it there in between. Is this what you're saying?
You can fix it now. You say, this feeling is bothering me now, and I'm no longer prepared to tolerate that feeling in my body. So, you can say, whatever the origin of it is, who cares? I, you know, I don't want that feeling now in my body. And I don't give power to some old idea to dictate how I'm feeling now. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because even if you would look at the situation as an adult, there would be a totally different story. So, no, as a child, you have one way of interpreting it, but other people being in the same room, having the same experience, would have made or created other stories around that. So it is not even true, so to say.
Yeah. It is not even true, and this is what awareness, awareness of the present moment means, seeing the truth, where nothing has any objective good or bad about it. That is the truth, right? But I mean, that is the elevated perspective that we're all trying to get towards, and that you have integrated a kind of dualistic memory of something being very bad. And, I mean, I remember my experience of applying this sort of who cares attitude to something that had previously been really, really important to me. Like, yeah, who cares? But why do I care? Why does that matter to me? What illusion am I laboring under right now that is causing me to alter the feelings in my body based on a memory of something that happened 40, 50 years ago to me? Why am I, inviting, why am I indulging in a certain feeling associated with that memory as if it mattered? Yeah, so my mother never understood me, let's say. Yeah, who cares? Like right this minute, what does that mean to me? Why am I interested in that? Why do I need to have this this approval, or this? Why do I need to change someone else's outlook on life, including their idea of me? Why do I need to indulge in the illusion that I could possibly even do that? What does that mean to me? Why can't I not let go of that? So when we can identify the place where this particular illusion, let's say, is sort of trapping you right now from having something that you want, from moving in a certain direction, from experiencing feeling that you want to have, right? There is something specific that's in you right now. And wherever it started is just it's just a doorway that you walked in through. It's not really relevant to how it's blocking you now. But right now you can say, why do I care so much about that? And that's what we can get at with these botanical essences, particularly where I apply this understanding to how to use them and how to blend them together so that I make a very bespoke elixir, let's say, for someone to just open this knot, to untangle the knot so that they just move forward as if it were never there. A lot of the people that I work with don't even notice really all that the remedy is doing for them. They just move forward as if this problem is gone. They're not looking back over their shoulder saying, I used to have that problem. I used to have that problem. That was the problem I had. They just, it's like you drive on a street and you're not thinking the whole time about all the places you just passed. It's not relevant to you anymore. It doesn't mean that you were wiping out your memory banks and you don't remember your childhood anymore or something, but it's not, you're not looking at it through this dirty lens that gives you only one perspective that you've decided is the truth. It's like, yeah, wow, that's what I used to think. I don't think that anymore. There are many things that we all can relate to. I used to believe that, and I don't think that anymore, right?
Absolutely. I have done so much work on myself. And when I look back, what have been like limiting beliefs, oh my goodness, no, there was really a huge backpack full of belief that were holding me back to really achieve what I want to achieve and really go for my vision. So,
It's
yeah.
so freeing, eh? It's so freeing when you realize that it is a backpack. It's this heavy backpack of stuff that you don't even know that you have it on. And
Yeah.
you take it off. It seemed impossible to take it off, but you can take off this backpack and put it on the ground and oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that feels better now, you know?
So what do I need kind of awareness about? Do I need to know about the emotions that are there, or do I need about my beliefs? Do I need to know about my archetype? You said something about
Yeah.
basic
You don't need
archetype.
to know. You don't need to know about your archetype. And really the thing that makes this so elegant, this system, so I took two systems and put them together, really. So one is the Bach flowers. The other one is a system called shadow alchemy, which I learned from several different sources online, but I didn't create that at all, that system. And um, there are really only, I don't want to get too in depth about it, but there are only four shadow archetypes that we need to worry about. That makes it really easy to work with. So what I did is that I instinctively knew that the remedies have to have pairs of archetypes and not single ones. In the beginning, I tried single ones. It was worthless as a system. And I tried pairs, and then I said maybe it's more than pairs. You know, I went on trying to see maybe it's the arrangement of all four of them. But really, the pairs of archetypes is what I ended up with. One sort of at the surface, let's say, and one more at the core, so that there is a surface archetype, which is in a sense doing the compensation work to keep us from not falling into the other archetype, which would be a deeper concern of our soul, let's say, or our spirit. So as I started to work with these, it became really easy for me to hear someone speak and understand how these archetypes are dancing at the moment and which one needs to be addressed or which pair needs to be addressed. And recently I found it so interesting that this idea of pairs of archetypes with four options was really so close to the Watson-Crick diagram of DNA, you know, that when I'm talking about working on the very level, you know, inside of your cells, I think it's just very cool that there are these two sort of very effective systems, each very effective on their own, because shadow alchemy is a brilliant sort of it's not a therapy, it's a therapeutic model of getting to your, you know, overcoming your own stuff. It's a self-work kind of model. But where it left me was without help on this body piece of, I understand this intellectually, this belief is false, but still when a trigger comes, my body is going to react in the old way, right? So when you just asked, what does someone need to know about? They need to know what triggers them. They need to know what bothers them. What do you obsess about, or what happens in your daily life that makes you angry, that makes you fearful, that makes you suddenly doubt yourself when in reality you're very capable. Just for example. So I'll give you one little example. I was working with a group of people who took a weekend seminar with me that I did live. Actually, it was really fun to work with live people after so much online work. But we worked together in a sort of, let's say, a little retreat setting for 2 days, learning this whole system. And everyone was working on their own issue so that we could use everybody's personal things as examples. So one woman shared that something that had happened to her today is that there were aggressive drivers on the road. When she was coming, she was driving on the highway and somebody cut her off, and they were angry, aggressive drivers that really, really made her very afraid. And as we got into the why do you care part of this, what was obvious for me is that, yeah, I care someone's going to cause an accident, either to my car or someone in front of me. This aggressive driver will drive someone off the road. And that's what came to me. And as I worked with her, it was a completely different story that this trigger was telling her. It was triggering her in a fantasy that she would pull over to the side of the road, and the other driver would pull over to the side of the road, and this driver would get out of the car and yell at her and be angry at her, and there would be this confrontation, which when it came out, and she heard herself saying what was obvious to her, like, yeah, of course, aggressive drivers, I don't think about dying in a car crash. I thought maybe she's worried about death and pain and suffering or whatever. When she realized that it was about confrontation, she just said, like, I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe it. Like, this is so huge for me. It opened up a whole window on where she was holding herself back and how to work on it. So that was what determined the blend of flowers that I suggested for her. It was not based on a kind of a panic about an accident or a fear of not being in control or something. It was feeling that she could not stand up for herself in a confrontation with someone. So the thing that you want to be aware of or to notice is the trigger. What is something that triggers you into any kind of emotional state? And it doesn't matter what, because all emotions are essentially a sign of some kind of illusion that we're under. All emotions. That's so weird to think, but everybody wants to validate their emotions, and your emotions are what are important, and you should let your feelings drive you forward. And there is something that should drive you forward in terms of you should become aware of your taste, and that drives you forward. But that's a next level kind of pursuit. If you're still being driven forward by unconscious emotional reactions to things, you're not ready for that kind of next step.
Yeah, and this is interesting because in this scene, often people say you need to control your emotions and shift your emotions. So as soon as you get triggered, figure out what is the emotion that is coming up and do whatever you can do, breath work, and there are different tools, meditation, go for an exercise and shift this emotion into something that is supportive and is not bringing you back on the path to move forward. But still these emotions are triggered. So this is like,
and still you are a hostage to your emotions. You're spending all your life doing all this work to shift the emotion. This is what I'm feeling. I need to shift the emotion. I would say, no, you need to sit with that emotion. And how can I say it? It's not, it's the offloading of those emotions that keep us away from resolving it. Because if you can stay with it, and it's an emotion that you don't want, you finally come to a place where you allow some insight about how this emotion is useless to you. It's not doing anything for you. It's just an indulgence. And that, of course, we have emotions, and they add color to our life. They add richness and depth to our experience of this human existence. But if you can't just turn it off because you say, yeah, now I've had enough of that, let's move on, then if you can't just turn it off, then it's running your show. You have to become a master of your emotions. That doesn't mean that you're good at offloading them, that as soon as I have that emotion, I get in a meditative state and I dissolve it or something. That's why I speak about alchemizing, because there is value in the emotion. We don't just want it to go away. It can be useful to us. For instance, anger can give you a lot of energy. It can propel you into something. It can give you courage, right? Like, I don't know how to say it. Sadness can open up a lot of empathy. It can crack you open to see a lot of beauty, maybe, that you were holding away. It can open your connection with other people. We don't want to destroy or remove all these emotions. We want to create an environment where they are not running your life, because they are not real. They're not part of a view of reality, because true reality will never actually trigger your emotions, except for a kind of ecstasy or euphoria to be observing it, right? The real reality in front of you cannot trigger emotions beyond like a fleeting second of, take your hand off that hot stove, you know. But that if you're continuing, as you just said, with a whole story about, why did I put my hand on the stove? Oh, it hurts so much. Maybe I'll never heal now. I'm such an idiot. Why did this happen to me? This is how we allow our emotions to now generate new thoughts. And that is the place where we're very, very stuck. Like, why am I telling this story? Why is that story important to me? Why does that come up now? Is it true? I know I love the work. It's really called The Work of Byron Katie. If you're familiar with that author, she calls her approach The Work. And it's a series of 4 questions that you ask yourself. The first one, is this true? And the second one is this really true? Can I prove that this is true? And that is a great place to start. And I would say that there's definitely some crossover with the process of interrogation, inquiry that I do, because at some moment you have to confront yourself with the idea that the story that you're telling yourself is not true. And the element of the drops that adds to this story is that it can release the electric charge on that story has in your body, so that now it's just a story and it doesn't generate a feeling.
And this also means that people who, for example, are in kind of a loop, being in the same kind of thoughts and
Right.
the feelings around situations, can get out of that?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, one of my clients said something really interesting, and it really highlights what I'm talking about. So I'll share with you. Somebody who was working with me in a 90-day container. So week over week, she was getting a new blend of remedies from me. And she had been sort of, she described to me how she was not able to get out of this loop of thoughts, that worrying, a constant worrying about her adult children, that what are they doing? This isn't a good idea. I wonder if he's driving the car after he had a drink. Maybe he's staying out too late. I don't like his friends. And at some point, as a mother, that you have to let go, and your work is done, in the sense of that kind of mother hen type of work. But she was more and more finding that she couldn't stop these thoughts from happening. And so when I spoke to her after just a week or 10 days, she said, I'm not sure that it's helping because I still have those thoughts. And I said, well, but what about the anxiety? She said, oh yeah, it doesn't make me afraid anymore. I didn't think anything changed because I still have those thoughts, but I don't care. Like, I don't care. It comes in my mind and I think of it, I notice it, and then I move on. So that's a really good description of what happens, right? Like the thoughts are okay. Your mind is made to have thoughts all the time. Your mind can think anything it wants. The problem is if your thoughts are generating emotions that you can't stop it from happening. That's the only problem. So now she can have such a thought. I wonder where my son is. Is he drinking and driving or something? Okay. I hope he does the right thing. And you move on with your life. You're not stuck in a loop of not being able to get out of that emotional place.
So for whom are these kind of elixirs?
Well, yeah, of course, everybody can use it, but my particular interest is in working with people who are, first of all, who have already done some kind of personal work, so that the level at which they feel stuck is a more elevated one, right? I'm not so interested in helping people who have a significant problem with managing anxiety in their life or low self-esteem, people who already, they know their self-worth, they are working at a high level, they're doing good work, they're creating, they're earning, they're in leadership positions. And those people also want to grow and do more. And wherever you are, there is some new limit arriving that you didn't know was there, and that is holding you back from creating the next thing, from pursuing the next idea. That something comes into your mind and right away you say, oh, that will never fly, or I'll never get my board behind that, so I'm going to leave that idea behind. Or I have a thought to leave it all behind and create something brand new. And now it's your friends and your family who are pressing you and saying, you've got to be kidding. Like, why would you leave such a good thing that you've already built that's working so well to now take such a risk? And your reputation will be at risk, and your future earnings will be at risk, and you have children to put through college or whatever the story might be, it gets harder and harder to follow your taste and to push your boundaries and to enjoy the thrill of not knowing if something is going to work. Because people who are successful, I just wrote a post about this today. I don't think I've posted it yet, but Tony Robbins says if you do the same thing all the time, you'll keep getting the same results. I mean, I didn't say it in exactly the right words, but doing the same thing will produce the same results. I think Einstein said it in the reverse, And the trouble with very successful people is that whatever they're doing, the same is producing success after success. And even that becomes boring because it's predictable now that whatever I do, whatever I touch turns to gold. And so, yeah, okay, I can change industries, or I can change my level of my job description, or I can sell this one company and build another one from scratch. And then, of course, it's going to be successful. And the whole routine starts to become a pattern that is a little bit boring for someone who wants to completely change. Yeah, now I want to be a painter, or now suddenly I want to, give up everything and just do some hiking in the Himalayas, and then I'm going to write a book about it, and I'm going to completely change my life. But there are all of these elements now of, oh, can I really do that? Will people laugh at me? That's a big one, am I going to lose all the traction that I've gained so far, sort of personal traction that I have with people in my life? Yeah, I want to work with people who have more at stake, and where the finding that little place becomes smaller and smaller, like the hidden little crumb of dust that is preventing the wheels from turning becomes so small that you can hardly see it. And for me, that is the kind of challenge that I love to work with, because it's already easy for me to work at the basic level to shift people. Everyone who I work with gets the kind of shift that I'm anticipating with these remedies. So, the other thing that I think about people who are already comfortable with a certain level of success, with a certain level of influence, is that as they move outward, then you get this beautiful principle where, it's like, I always go to the 4-minute mile as the great example of this, but we see it in all kinds of different arenas, that we are interconnected on a quantum level. Yes, we are. And that mice in Los Angeles learn to run a certain maze, and then the mice in Shanghai know how to do the maze without having to be taught. When someone in a position of some, not authority, but of some influence, let's say, now goes beyond what other people thought was possible, that becomes an option for everyone. The 4-minute mile was broken in 1930, whatever. And after 100 years of trying, one guy was finally able to do it. And he didn't have a secret method. I mean, he did train in a different way, but when nobody knew that it was possible. And as soon as he did it, suddenly everyone could do it. Not everyone, but, dozens of people suddenly were able to do it. And we see the same thing happening even today in ultra running, in distance running, with all the different kinds of challenges that people devise for runners. Someone was able to run first more than 300 miles, and that was incredible, 350 miles. And then the same guy came back after a couple of years and made 450 miles, because he realized that his body just went into a kind of a different mode after 300 miles that he never experienced before. And he was generating energy literally in a new way that he didn't know existed. And then everyone else could say, well, look, if he can do it, he's just an ordinary person. I can do it too. And then they do it too. So this is what I want. I want for advanced seekers, people who are already working on themselves at a high level and have done so much progress, like yourself, right? To say, now I wonder where I am unconsciously holding myself back. What could come next that I can't even conceive of, because, it comes into your mind, and then so quickly you say, yeah, that's not possible. It's not a thought that you dwell with. It just comes and goes in a second, like a dream, before you even see it. So I want to find those little places and untie that little knot, so that then literally all of humanity can be released in a significant way from our illusion brain that loves to chew on illusions.
So what you're speaking about, this quantum entanglement, is that if one person is able to push the boundary of what people believe what is possible and become this, then it is not only for himself or herself, but it is also for our whole human population possible.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
it is opening up the field for everybody.
Yes, it does. And now we talk about epigenetics, right? And about influencing how your genes can express themselves, or how they will express themselves. we look at what individuals with the trisomy, the Down syndrome, if we look at what those people are able to achieve in this day and age, compared with 50 years ago or 100 years ago when they would be just put in an institution, the lifespan is longer. The education is much greater. The people, they are becoming movie actors and high-level athletes and influencers, this would have been unthinkable 50 years ago. But yes, we can, the gene deficit, we'll say, or it's not even a deficit, the appearance of this gene, the extra chromosome, is still there. It's there, like, physiologically, but it is absolutely possible to alter how that expresses itself in millions of different ways. And that's true of all of our genetic coding. We have the capacity to alter how it expresses ourselves. Think about organ regeneration. Just for instance, your liver is perfectly capable of regenerating itself, so why not your heart, or why not your kidneys? We haven't yet figured it out, but it is a capacity of a human cellular organization to repair itself in that way. That other creatures, a salamander, starfish, this is routine for them to regrow a limb.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of lizards here. And that definitely we can see they throw away the tail and they regrow it. And sometimes it comes with a different kind of color. So you see that, no, it is regrown, and it happens all the time.
So nature knows how to do this. Yeah. It is within our capacity. And like, what could be possible in the field of wellness? I'm not even going to say medicine, but, like, what could be possible by, changing the belief pattern inside of your cells. Because that's where it has to happen. It's on the cellular level that there's a belief that this isn't possible. And so we don't do it. It's so that it doesn't happen. They know that children, for instance, can lose a fingertip and it will regrow. But in adults, it doesn't happen. So on some level, the cells of a child have not yet been programmed with a belief that it's finished and it can't grow anymore, right? So we have so many examples of how the human body can do these things, but on the cellular level, we're held back. So I don't know if I'll make it my work to go into that realm, but certainly in the realm of beliefs, I love to work with people who have very big dreams and who want to do things which are, how can I say, creatively fulfilling for them, because ultimately it's all about creativity. It's all about making some kind of art. Everything that you do in life is art. And I want to work towards the ultimate, if that can even be a thing, right? A kind of limitless self-expression, which is what we're all meant to be doing. And when you are limitlessly self-expressed, by definition, that is benefiting other people. It's not because you're attached to a goal of helping others that it happens, it happens by expressing yourself.
What is your big dream? Why are you doing this work, what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that's my big dream, is to see it. I want to see the magic happening in front of me. I want to see magic. I believe that reality is actually based in magic, and we only limit our view of it because we think some things are too magical to be real or whatever. Nothing is too magical to be real. So I do want to change the world, and at the same time, that's not my motivation. It's there as like it will give me joy to see this happening. I believe that this is a beautiful time to be doing this kind of work because I'm sure everyone who's listening can feel it, that things are speeding up very, very much. It's going faster and faster. Even the Schumann resonance is going faster, right? The planet is vibrating at a higher rate. Things are changing a lot now. It's time. There's I think everything is kind of at a tension point where it's cracking apart. So this is a perfect moment to come in with something new. And I just want to see how far I can take this. What kind of creativity could be enabled through this technology that I've created. That will be exciting. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I love that.
Yeah. And if people would like to come into your magical world, how can they work with you? So you already shared that you have like a week-long program or like a weekend. So share a little bit about what are these kind of different modalities people can work with you.
Yeah, so I'm teaching this modality inside of a private membership group. That is at the moment it's a year-long program, but I did a very compacted version of the level 1 part of that, which is about half in over a weekend. So that would be in a live workshop. I have to say it doesn't sing to me to do a whole 2-day seminar online. That feels really heavy to me, but in person it was lovely. So I do those in-person weekend retreats where you can learn the system and how to do it, how to apply it to yourself. I also work with individuals in typically in a 90-day container to work layer over layer to, kind of go deeper and deeper and to find more and more things to unload so that the trajectory goes faster and farther. And I'm also doing week-long retreats in a very special locations, I would say, where this is designed for a husband and wife, and ultimately for a whole family. Because I often find among my clients that they are a little bit alone in their spiritual pursuit of of their own limitlessness, or that they are reading the books, going to the seminars, watching the videos, doing the personal work, and they are not that the support is necessary, but that they desire some tighter union with their spouse and with their family. They want everyone to be able to come along and benefit in this way, and that the spouse is not ready or somehow skeptical or too attached to a materialistic outlook, I would say, of life, where the client, typically my clients are men. I do work with women too, but maybe that's coming from, I worked for a long time with divorced fathers, so I feel good, with that, working with that masculine energy. But these guys genuinely want their wives to grow with them, because otherwise this bond is being stretched as one person moves forward on a personal journey and the other one is not coming along. So this is an opportunity to bring somebody else along in a kind of a very accelerated way so that they can join their vision together again and move forward as a couple and as a family, because also, so many families get disconnected at the age of the teenage years or the young adult years of the children, where they're really veering off from the important values of, one value would be self-development, right? That like introspection, that the kids get very attached often to the, in honesty, to the high net worth lifestyle that has been provided by this successful person who already had his own epiphany, and he's been doing all the things and doing this work, maybe with meditation, maybe with ice bath therapy, whatever, that has made a shift already for this one member of the family who really wants this benefit for the rest of the family. So that work happens where we detach from the everyday world and go somewhere very special, in touch with nature, in a powerful location that is already an activating place, right? Everything comes together in this kind of sensory experience that allows this kind of shift to happen really quickly. So that is a week-long, again, a bespoke experience, and people can just get in touch with me to talk about what that looks like and how to arrange it.
Bespoke means to understand when it will happen, about the dates, but also about the location, or are you choosing the location?
No, also about the location. Yeah, because it depends which time of year we are talking about. It depends where the client lives and how far they want to travel. I mean, we just look at what the options are to choose from a number of places that I know, or that I would recommend, which will be suitable at the moment when the person can arrange to, let's say, bring themselves and their wife. Everyone is busy, right? So we need to find the right time, and that will determine which hemisphere we're going and what kind of experience we want to have.
Yeah. So Madeira, if it is not on your list yet, will definitely be a place. I'm here because of the energy and this abundance and beauty. So perhaps you want to.
I personally can't wait to see it. That's a place I would love to go. So it's on my list for sure.
Okay, cool. See you soon here. Yeah, and you also shared at the beginning that you have a podcast, and I am so honored that I already have been a guest on your show, and hopefully soon this will be live as well.
Yes, it will be soon live. I'm in conversations a few times a week with my producer, who is in charge of putting all the things together. So I have now 6 or 7 episodes recorded. And he's got people who are whatever, all the, the design and the editing and the music, all of that stuff has to be put together so that we're ready to go. But it really is pretty much ready. So I would think within the next, maybe by the time this episode is being aired, you'll be able to find the Limitless podcast. That's the name.
Okay, so you will send me the link to the podcast. I will put it in the show notes. And of course, it would be amazing if you share where people can find you digitally.
Oops, we're just now having a break of the internet. Uh-oh. Can you still hear me? I don't know. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
So maybe just say again, you said I'm going to put the link for your podcast in the show notes, and you were just about to say something else.
Yeah, so I will put the link in the show notes. And if people would like to contact you either digitally or in person, where can they find you?
My website is tracypoizner.com, Poizner. And I believe that spacetimealchemy.com website is also live, but probably at this moment it's pointing to the same place. So tracypoizner.com is the place to find me. Everything about me is there.
Okay, cool. I'm
also on LinkedIn, of course, on LinkedIn, Tracy Poizner.
Okay, so they will find you with your name, either the website or on LinkedIn. I will put both links as well in the show notes.
Great.
Okay, last but not least, is there anything that you would like to share that I didn't ask you?
Oh my goodness. No, I think we had a really nice conversation today. I would love to hear from anyone who is just curious to know more about what this technology is. This is something brand new, and I'm not even very good at talking about this piece yet in terms of what it could mean that there's a vibrational essence that can do a similar work, although it's not at all a hallucinogenic experience, but that, that can be an interesting experience for people who have already experienced psychedelics, maybe they've already experienced plant medicine, to see what this is capable of with just these energetic flower essences. I think will blow them away. So I would love to hear from people who are curious to know more about this and how to go about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious, and I will reach out to you to understand more for myself as well.
Great.
So thank you so much for being a guest today on my show and for sharing your wisdom and your vision and how you innovate in this space. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.